Hi guys, welcome to another Ace for Waves episode with me, Annabelle. I want to start off by saying that right now it is 5:51 in the morning, so we're recording this a bit early. I know it's early for me, so if I seem tired or my energy levels are low, we can blame it on that, I guess. But it's an earlier day for me. I'm trying to get more ahead of recording these stuff in the future so I can put them out at certain times instead of kind of waiting to record and upload. Trying to be a little bit more better at time managing that. Plus with school, plus with other stuff going on, it can be a lot. So I'm trying to get ahead of the game here. Hence why I'm filming this early in the morning. I don't know when this episode thing will come out. It could be the day I am recording this. It could be in a couple days. I don't know. All I know is that today is Monday. It is 5:50 in the morning, and we are rolling. This is not going to be a main episode today, so to speak. I don't have like special segments and special like segues that I like to do on the podcast slash the show. And since it's my kind of thing, I get to dictate how I want it to go sometimes. So this is not a main episode. I do promise that there will be a main episode in the future, but we've done main episodes on the podcast. We've done some Saturday specials that I know I want to try and bring back at some point when I have the time. We've done A plus life ice with me. I know that's another thing that I want to try to do more and record more. We also have done, I think, one or two coffee talks here. And coffee talks is just I have coffee and I talked about something that I want to talk about. That's not really sports slash media related, but something that I deem interesting. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have a coffee talk and we're going to talk about something that I want to talk about. The first coffee talks that I did, I kind of talked about my experience in school growing up, what school was like for me, both in high school and currently in college. When I recorded that first episode of Coffee Talks, I was still a junior in college at UNI. I am into my senior year now in the fall, so it's changed a little bit, but not much. But I thought I haven't really talked about why I wanted to create this podcast, why I wanted to create a show like this. So I figured what better way to do it than now with Coffee Talks. So that's the theme for today. I'm going to tell you guys about the origin of the podcast, how it kind of came to be, what my plans are in the future for it, and some of my favorite episodes that I've recorded so far. I have, for you guys listening, you can't see it, but if you're watching this whenever it comes out, I got my coffee in my University of Northern Iowa Panthers coffee mug. I always forget to talk to. It is really hot. I literally just made it. And I hope I didn't burn my tongue doing so. But that out of the way, let's talk. The origin of the podcast. So I came up with this idea last year around, I want to say January or February of last year. Well, actually, not last year, this year, 2024. I say last year because last year was my junior year, but it was this very early this year. I want to say it was around, I think it was early to mid January. I was thinking about stuff that I was passionate about. I like reading, I like writing, I like art of all kinds. I like music, and I like sports too. I watched sports growing up. I grew up in a household with two brothers. I was the only girl aside from my mother and dad. So we were like three boys, two girls. My brothers were always very much into sports enthusiasts. So I kind of picked that up from them as well. Middle school, high school, and into college. Still watch a lot of sports to this day. I like watching college basketball, college football. I'll watch quite a few NFL games. I'll watch a couple NBA games, MLB if it's on, etc. So, and golf too. Golf is probably the sport that I watch the most. So I do watch a lot of sports. And because I watched a lot of sports, I wanted to kind of talk about sports too. But just aside from the general sports of football scores and basketball scores, who was winning golf tournaments, that kind of stuff, I wanted to take a different approach to the sports topics in talking, but I wanted to create something that I could relate to, but also something that was very relevant in the world today, especially in sports media. For those who don't know, my degree at school right now, I'm pursuing a bachelor's of arts in, I guess it's communication media, but my major is digital media journalism. I don't know exactly where that path will take me yet, but I still have less than a year to get more classes in, figure out what I'm passionate about, and figure out where that will take me down the road after graduation. But I knew that sports was always the route I wanted to go in terms of talking about something that I was very passionate about. So I thought, why not try and create a little podcast series out of it where I could talk about sports, but I could also talk about other stuff that I found interesting or I found that people could relate to as well. The name for the podcast, I don't know exactly how I came up with it exactly, but Ace for Waves. Some of my friends back home, well, one of my very close friends calls me Ace all the time. My initials are like AS, so AS kind of sounds like Ace. I also like the Ace of Hearts in the standard card deck when we play card games. So that's also kind of the reason why my nickname is Ace too. But I had the Ace part, and then I just wanted something to rhyme with Ace, so I came up with Waves, Ace for Waves. Not very interesting, but you get the point, I think. So that's the title. I remember approaching one of my journalism professors here at school, and I kind of told her I want to try creating a podcast where I could talk about something that I really liked, which was sports. So I came to her and I pitched this idea of what I wanted to try and do. And we talked about it for a while. I know that it's between my original pitch and what I'm talking about right now, it looked a little bit different. So some stuff has changed, but a lot has stayed similar too. At first, it was just going to be solely sports and that's it. But and when I did my first 4 episodes talking about sports, I enjoyed it. I got a lot of fun out of doing it, but I also knew that there were other things that I wanted to try and tie into my podcast show as well. So, and that's kind of where I started to divide stuff into coffee talks and life advice and Saturday specials, that kind of thing. So some stuff has stayed the same between my original pitch and now. Some stuff has changed, but I really like the direction and where this is going right now. I'm having a lot of fun creating stuff, coming up with ideas, pitches, writing out content, producing content, etc. It's something that I just am very passionate about, and that's why I would encourage people who are interested in creating their own stuff, whether that be videos, podcasts, having like their own YouTube show, specials, whatever. If you're passionate about something and you want to try something, just go for it and see where it takes you. It doesn't have to be perfect right away. It doesn't have to start off good right off the bat, but you can improve. You can see what you're doing good at. You can look back on your stuff, see what you might want to change in the future, change that, and it just continues to grow and get better the more you keep on doing it. That's another struggle that I had early on, in which I didn't know how well I would do talking just to a camera by myself. I know that can be a little bit awkward and a little bit uncomfortable for some people. I found it awkward the first 4 or 5 episodes that I did it, but now as I'm growing more comfortable talking to a camera, talking to an audience, it gets easier the more you do it, but it's still nervous. And I totally understand that. But my advice for getting over those nerves is the more you keep doing it, the more you'll sort of settle into a rhythm and you'll find that balance in which you will be at your best. I'm going to take another sip of coffee here and hopefully I don't burn my tongue. So that's kind of like the whole origin between me thinking about it and then pitching it. I think some people don't realize, and you might have noticed it in some of the main episodes, but I try my best to write out the content before I talk about it. So I do have notes, I do have written content in which like the episodes will kind of go. I try to do it for most main episodes. Sometimes, I think the last two main episodes, I just went completely off script and talked about stuff, but I still had bullet points for the topics that I wanted to highlight. But most of the time, I do have a written script in front of me, just so I know exactly what I want to talk about without mixing up words. I do some research for these episodes. I know I researched a bit about the Super Bowl. I researched stuff about fan culture, pop culture, and golf. I think I researched again about golf's fine. I did like an assumptions slash stereotypes about golf. It's that kind of thing. So I do my research, and then I do write out written content, starting with an introduction, then with kind of a point of emphasis. Then I have my main points, have sub points underneath those main points, in which I know what I want to talk and what words I want to say, and then I end with a conclusion. So I think I still have it here. Hold on, guys. For those watching slash listening right now, I have my like little binder thing for the podcast stuff specifically, and now we're having a hard time finding it. So I'm just gonna give up right there. I was trying to find my little binder for Acer Waves, but it's not there right now. But if then I could have showed you what that kind of looked like. I want to actually did just have it out at some point. Hold on, guys. Here, hold on. I can't find it right now. I should have prepared for that earlier. But I'll show. If I do another one of these, I'll show it to you. I don't know if you guys listening could have picked up on it, but I was trying to look for my podcast binder that I have where I keep kind of layouts. I'll keep my written content stuff. I have some notes. I have like tentative schedules in there. Helps keep me organized sometimes. But if I find it, I'll show it to you guys. Maybe if when I record a main episode or something, show it and show it off briefly. But I do write most of my content. Writing has always been kind of my strong suit in school, so I like to use that to my advantage whenever I can. I like to write out stuff, not only so it keeps me on track with how the video is going, but it also just gives me a sense of comfort knowing that I'm saying exactly what I want to say and I have the research to kind of back that up. As for producing is kind of a new area for me, but I don't really consider myself an official producer, so to speak. I know there's producers who do far more than I do right now, but nonetheless, I'm still producing content. I'm still behind the scenes working, whether that be from writing out stuff, whether that be from planning. If I have guests on, which has only happened twice so far, and it's been with my brother, directing that and directing how the video is going, how it turns out, that kind of thing. So I can't call myself an official producer, but I like to think of myself as a semi producer, like a semi truck. Not quite as big, but still just little producer stuff here and there, which I've loved. I know producing it's something that I definitely want to try and see if I can do in the future as a profession. I don't know how that would work necessarily in like a media or journalism profession. We'll have to see where that kind of takes me. But I've liked produce. I've enjoyed the producing stuff. I've enjoyed the written stuff, as I've alluded to. And it's just been a fun time. It's been fun creating this show. And it's been fun seeing the growth that I think I've had from the very first episode up to now. I know we're at 12 main episodes already. Scatter that in with some Saturday specials, coffee talks, my life advice segments. I think I have like a Monday reel right after the Super Bowl stuff. So there's plenty of stuff out there that I've grown quite fond of, that I feel quite proud of. But there's a lot more to cover, and there's many more things in the horizon that I can see happening on the podcast. Some of my favorite episodes that I've done so far, I think episode 2 of a main episode, it's Super Bowl 58 preview with Michael, my brother. That was very fun because I still had written content out. I still planned what I wanted to say, but then we kind of took it off grid and just let him lead the conversation most of the time, and I would chime in here and there, but I had questions already prepared. I kind of briefed him before he came to visit me in Cedar Falls what the episode would be about. I told him to do research of his own to come with so that he could present it to the audience, but it was a fun time, and I enjoyed doing something with a family member. I feel like the flow of the conversation moved very well between me asking the questions, him answering them, and vice versa. It was just a fun time. And I think we talked for nearly 50 minutes there. So we had plenty to talk about, but I really appreciated him coming up to visit me for the Super Bowl. Even though it wasn't the outcome that both of us were hoping for, we still had a fun time watching it. I want to say another video that I like is again with my brother. and it wasn't really a podcast episode, so to speak. I didn't have like a main episode planned, but it's a video that him and I would play uh, the PS4. I was going to say Xbox, but no, it's a PS4, and it's called We Played Bay Hill Golf Club. We played PGA 2K23 Bay Hill Golf Club for the first time. So he was kind of showing me how to play PGA 2K23 on the PS4. I had played a little bit with him a few weeks prior, and he was kind of teaching me how to use like the controllers, what buttons to push, etc. So I had some knowledge of it, but I wanted to kind of capture it on video, so I had him on for that too. You can you can view it on YouTube. It's not so much of us talking about one specific thing. It's more of me narrating what was going on, kind of play, if you can call it play by play. I guess the correct terminology would be shot by shot. But we just had a fun conversation again for 45 minutes. I think it was actually 50 minutes of us just playing a video game. We would talk about the video game, but I also threw in some golf related questions as well during scattered throughout the video. So I like that video too. You can't see the screen that we were playing on. All you can see and hear is our faces, and it's just with the controllers. But it was still I had fun doing it, and I think it came out with a victory. I could also point out though that my difficulty level was on easy mode, and my brother's level I think was either the hardest one or the second hardest one. So I won because I had a very easy level, and he lost because he was playing on a more difficult level, and which in turn made his shots and his accuracy a little more well advanced other than mine. I'm trying to think. I've enjoyed my kind of life advice segments. I think the relationship advice is probably my favorite one to date, only because it was an area in which I knew I didn't have, I know I don't have expertise in. I probably wasn't the best person to be giving out relationship advice, dating advice, but again, that's an episode or a segment where I had to do some research for, so I could kind of prepare myself. Talking about an area that I'm not familiar with can be kind of nerve wracking sometimes, but I know it's something that a lot of people deal with today in the world and in society. I know it's a big topic out there, whether it be in the dating world or even if couples are married, um, engaged, divorced, whatever the case may be. We can all benefit from we can all benefit from relationship advice and relationship discussions. So that was the whole premise going into it. I think my views on relationships and dating have stayed pretty much the same. Some stuff might be a little bit different now compared to 3 months ago when I released 3 or 4 months ago when I released the first segment of that, but it was still a fun time. I know I enjoyed talking about it. I know I enjoyed kind of the research portion of looking at relationship data and relationship statuses. What's a common theme in dating today? That stuff I had fun pulling out information for, and then obviously structuring it into written content, and then trying to find a way to incorporate that into a video was kind of fun to do as well. So that's just a few of my favorite episodes that I've done. Take another coffee break here. So some stuff stuff planned for the future. To be perfectly honest with you guys, I don't know what the future looks like in store right now. I know I talked about main episodes will still stay the same. I know that I do have plans for main episodes for the next few weeks slash month. I have some ideas that I've written down, so be kind of looking through those ideas, seeing which ones I'm excited for the most, and then putting that into written content too. So main episodes will still be there. I know I'm gonna try to do more Saturday special segments, even if that means pre-recording and then releasing it on a Saturday or filming it the Saturday of and uploading it right away. I don't know yet, but I know I want to try to do a few more Saturday specials. Also have coffee talks once in a while. It won't be a segment that I do every week, but maybe once a month or so, I'll pop in for a coffee talk and talk about something that I want to talk about that's not sports related. I know I'll keep my A plus life advice segment where I just give out life advice and stuff that people deal with in their daily lives, what we could use advice on, maybe tips, recommendations, stuff. I know some new segment ideas that I have kind of had in store is a segment where I talk about pop culture stuff, pop culture and stuff, and just in general. I'm a big fan of. I like, as I mentioned before, I like reading, I like writing, I like art, I like music. I like a lot of stuff within that pop culture realm. So maybe trying to figure out a way to incorporate that into different segments on the podcast. I know I want to try to do a segment of just me talking not complete nonsense, but just kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't call it like the tea or the gossip, but maybe like media headlines and stuff, figuring out a way to talk about that. I know I want to try talking about books that I've read and just book recommendations too, which could maybe potentially fall into that pop culture category as well. So I have ideas. I can't necessarily promise that all those ideas will happen in the future. I have my main episodes going on. I have a whole podcast that I'm writing and producing entirely on my own. But on top of that, I also have a job here at school. I have school, which comes first, most importantly. I'm going to school for my education to learn, so I'm prepared for life after college. So I always have to remember that school comes first, homework comes first, completing assignments, and then it goes work, then it goes my other school related activities, and then the podcast is fourth or fifth. So the whole podcast is not my main priority, nor is it my first priority. It's just something that I'm doing for fun as a little side gig, but I'm still trying to do my best to put stuff out there, come up with ideas, write content, produce content, upload videos, just entirely by myself. So the whole structure of the podcast might not be what a lot of podcasts look like, but just know that I'm trying my best here. And like I've mentioned many times already before, I have had a fun time doing it, and I hope to do more stuff like this in the future, however that looks. So with that, guys, how long have we been talking? 29 minutes. This seems like a perfect way to end on. I hope you guys enjoyed this coffee talk. You guys kind of hear a little bit about the origin of the podcast, what it looks like now compared to early 2024, some of my plans moving forward with it. But thanks for being with me on this journey so far. I appreciate it. I look forward to doing more stuff whenever that happens. And like I mentioned before, I am a student first, so school is my number one priority right now, and then this my podcast comes again at like fourth or fifth. So I do have other priorities that I'm focusing on for right now, but I can promise you that the podcast is not going away. It might take me a little bit longer to upload stuff, but I haven't forgotten about it entirely. So with that, we'll end this segment of Coffee Talks. Thanks again for listening, for watching. I hope you learned a little bit about how this whole thing came to life, and hopefully you'll continue to stick with me for the journey and for the path. So with that, we'll conclude. I'll see you guys on the next one.